more within Retail Tracker. All right, so if we do get started on the Retail Tracker side, so as far as when you do have the new resident, whenever they do flow over to this side, the first things first, you just want to make sure you add the meal plan to the resident's account. So on the Retail Tracker back office, the inner meal plan purchases, this is where you go to add the meal plan to the resident. All right, so at this point, you can search by any of these fields, whether it's the last name, the first name, the profile ID, or the unit number. You can search in any of those fields for the resident. Anyone new, the line is going to look just like this. It's going to show that there's a blank line, so they currently do not have a meal plan. As far as adding the meal plan to the resident, if you double click here or F5 on the keyboard in this meal plan section, it's going to populate all the meal plans that you have on your side. And at this point, you just click on the meal plan that you're associating to the resident. The purchase date and the forward date would be the date for the meal plan, so the date of admission. The system will automatically populate the amount purchased as well as the expiration date. But if for any reason you need to change the expiration date, you can always do so. So what that means is come October 31st, this meal plan is expired. And the 1st of November, a new one will be created. So if a resident is ever changing the meal plan, this never renew, that's going to expire the meal plan based upon the expiration date you have here. So if they're moving out or something like that, if you put in an expiration date, followed by the never renew, they would no longer have this meal plan based upon the expiration. Again, if you do not have this selected and you leave it at your expiration date here, the system will know come the 1st to roll over a new meal plan. Questions so far on this screen?
I think we're good. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so again, with the new resident, you would add on the meal plan. And as far as if they are going to have the wallet, if we go over to the Retail Tracker side, on the point of sale piece, right under the name, that's where you're going to go to select the resident. Resident lookup. It's going to be the same thing with the meal plan, how you can search with any of these fields. You can do so here as well. Select the resident. That's going to bring the resident over to the order. Under wallet, you're going to have a menu listed. For the wallet, this is where you're going to go to select the money that you want to add over to their wallet account. Once you get to receipt, you're going to get to the payment screen. And this is where you're actually going to select the money that you're adding over to the account. So we're adding over 100 to the wallet, and now you're going to select the method of payment by which they're paying. So if they're using POS plan, meaning they're going to bill their account for this $100. If they're paying by credit card, a coupon, or for department is like going to run this for department. So if they want to give them like a free $100, this is where you can say admin's going to pay for that 100, or if they have cash as well. Once you select the method of payment, print on the right-hand side is going to close out the transaction. And now the system will ask you the resident wallet that's going to tie to their name, so they do not need an actual card, or wallet card, that's where they would actually swipe the wallet card to load it onto an actual card. If not, the resident wallet would represent their name, so they would not need a card. Once the money is actually loaded to the wallet account, if we go back one screen, right here, you're gonna have the gift card / wallet. Under the wallet account, the view the balance will show you the balance of the resident's wallet or the employee or the guest as well. So if they have the card, they can either swipe their card or you can do the resident lookup. And at this point, you're gonna search for the resident. And again, the select resident at the bottom. And that's gonna show you the balance. If you're on the terminal, you can print this out as well to the receipt printer. And as far as the reports, the statement, you have the statement for the wallet as well. And this is gonna be based upon the date range also. So based upon the profile, you can look up the resident. And once you print this out, kind of get the actual statement. So if they have any transactions with the wallet, you're gonna see this reflected here. So in this case, you're gonna see when the wallet was actually loaded. And this will be the same thing for the employees as well. The accounts is gonna let you know anyone that currently has a wallet account. You have the as of date, and as far as the profile type goes, you can change this or all represent all profiles. And once you print at the bottom, it's gonna give us a listing of everyone who currently has a wallet. So whether it's a guest, or the same thing with the residents, or the employees as well. Question with the wallet? All right, so as far as the charges go, anyone that has an overage or billable amount, that's gonna show up on the register. So this meals, POS, transit, AR register, you can run this as many times as you want, but the update below, that's gonna actually send it over to billing, and that can only be done once a month. So if you want to verify your charges daily, weekly, or monthly, you can always come here to the AR register. So again, anyone that shows here is gonna actually be billed at the end of the month. The default is always run for last month. You're always gonna see that selected. Anytime you see this warning here, this just means that the register is empty, so the update was already completed. So in my case, for this test company, for the month of September, that month has already been completed. Versus if we uncheck this, run for last month, and we see October, we see here that the register is not blank because that warning is not there. So again, if you ever see the warning message, that just means that the register has been completed. It's already been updated. Once you go to continue, the register is going to populate. So again, anything that shows here, this means they're actually going to be billed for it. So if there is any charge, you will see that appear on the register. As far as the MRN number, you'll see that as well, the resident ID. The document number, that's going to be the receipt number, the date and the time of the transaction. And as far as the amount, if there's any taxes, the net amount as well as the charge. As far as the billing module goes, you're using the interface, so you can ignore the RB or the PB. This is more for if you're billing out of the retail tracker on the MatrixCare side. But when you use the charge codes, it goes more by the POS type code. So again, the register, you can run it as many times as you want just to see what charges are actually going to go over to billing. So if you see there's an error or anything, this is where you can run the register and then, go back and give the credit if you need to as well. So as far as the month-end process, again, you're going to have the AR register to verify the charges. And the update right below, that's going to send the charges over. And again, the default would be that run for last month. But when you uncheck this box, it's going to give you the current period. And again, the continue, that's when you're actually going to have the charter sent over to the Matrix Care side. So with those ancillary codes, that's how they're going to route over there. Question with the month-end process as far as viewing the charges or sending them over? All right. So this other chart is register. This one you're just going to view. So this will show you any chart that's associated to cash, credit, department, or wallet charges. This one you're not necessarily going to update. You're just going to run the register to view those charges. And this one you can filter based upon the date range, the different payment types. The geo period to post, we're not necessarily posting to a geo in this aspect, so you can just select any period. Under your stores, the blank is going to represent all locations. Under add remove, that's where you can just select certain stores as well. All right, so if I just run this register, and again, that's just for the current month. So anything that shows here just lets me know what the payment is. In this case, it's for the cash payment earlier for that wallet transaction. Since I paid by cash, I would just see it here on the register. Any questions with the actual other charges register or with the wallet? Right. So after this, I'll send you a document that goes over all of the reporting. You may already have it, but I'll send it over again just in case. So the view POS receipt, this is where you're going to go to view any of the receipts within Retail Tracker. So going along with that day-to-day process, if you feel like you've lost a receipt or someone wants to pull up a past receipt, under that view POS receipts, you're going to see all the receipts in the system. And the default view is always going to be the current month, but you can always change that based upon the date range. The same thing with the methods of payment. So if you wanted to see like all wallet receipts, you can view it this way as well. Same thing with the store. The receipt type, whether it's a receipt or receipt credits when you're going to give those voids or the refunds. The document number is just that, the receipt number, followed by the terminal number. As far as a profile type, this is going to be optional. All will represent residents, employees, or guests, or you can break it down by the receipts also. So if you wanted to see just a certain residence receipts, under residents, if you double click in the profile ID, that's where you can find just that one resident. And here you can range based upon the date range as well. And once you refresh, it's going to give you all those receipts based upon the range that you have selected. And that print on the far right-hand side is going to print out the receipt that you have highlighted. And that's going to give you the information just for that one receipt. Again, as far as reporting goes, I'm going to send you over that document to go along with it. But the most important reports under the reports menu, your resident meal plan list. This is going to show you anyone that currently has a meal plan and what they have available. This balance forward date, this goes based upon the date of the meal plan. So if you want to see everyone that has a plan starting at the beginning of the month, that's where you can put in the balance forward date. Or for those people that stagger, you can do the same thing here as well. Or blank will just represent all. That's going to be the same thing with the expiration date. If we print all regardless of balance, so even if their meal plan has expired, we can still see the balance of the meal plan. And all facility types will just represent everyone. So again, anyone on this list, they currently have a meal plan based upon the range that we selected. And here it'll just break it down by the different meal plan types. If you see anything in the amount forward, that means that you allow a carryover. So the carryover amount purchased, what they actually have on the meal plan, what they purchased, used, what they've used in the plan, and balance is what they have remaining. Does guest use, guest remaining? That goes more for if you have account-based meal plan like this right here, this 31 meal plan. This means that out of those 31 meals, a certain amount can go to guests. So if you did have a limit, this is where you could see guest use or guest remaining. And that's only if that applies to that meal plan. Residents with no meal plan is just that anyone that does not have a meal plan, that's going to be based upon the as of date. The sales report, this is going to show you the different sales that you have, and it's going to break it down by the different methods of payment. And again, with this one, you can always change the date range as well. 0 is going to represent all stores. If you double click here, you can select the different range of stores as well. If you're using tips, you can put in the actual item code from the retail tracker side to include that item as well. And then you're going to have a few different options. So if you want to combine your meal plans in one column, meaning your account-based meal plans versus your declining balance, you can combine them all in one column. If you have different sales tax versus liquor tax, you can include that as well. And the same thing with the item categories that comes over from item management. This quantity can be used as well, but for this one, you need the legal size paper. And again, you can always change the date range. So the default is always a month, but you can always change that. So if you don't want to run it for the month, you can just run it for a certain date range. But this report will break it down by your different stores, and it's going to give you the sales by each store as well. So based upon what's been sold for each location, you'll see the item categories from item management, the quantity that what's been sold, the DB will be those declining balance versus non-declining balance meal plans, direct bill for those employee charges, and then you'll have the other methods of payment as well. And you will have the total based upon the store. If anything on this report shows up as 0, that just means in item management, there's not a category assigned to it. All right, so again, I'm just going to cover the main ones, but again, you will have a document to follow, so you'll be able to see what all these other reports represent. Any question in particular on this side of Retail Tracker?
Anybody
And I see
from
one of the
Benedictine?
questions as far as that. Anyone? I see that one of the questions was the discharge of a tenant. Kind of goes along with the admissions aspect. So as far as, if someone's going to be discharged, that'd be more on the matrix side with a discharge of the resident. And then that would just represent on the retail tracker side as inactive. So once they are discharged, they would just come over to this side as inactive on the retail tracker side. All right, so with the time we have remaining, is there anyone in particular wants to go over anything they feel like they're missing? Or is there anything that you want to cover in particular in retail tracker, whether it's on this side or the actual ordering process on the other side?
I do have something. This is Laura. I have a memory care resident that I have to go in and delete her meal charges. I just had to delete like a whole month's worth of them yesterday. And she shouldn't be getting meal charges because that should be included, in her monthly service plan. So is there
Does she
any
have
way
a
we
meal
can figure out?
plan at all?
She should. That's not something that I do. Ken usually puts in meal plans for people, so I'm not real sure where the issue is lying. And our other issues that we have are pretty much just human error that people get charged that shouldn't get charged.
And what's the facility again?
Northfield.
And who's the member?
Joyce Austin.
So it seems last month she went over. Last month it seems, based on what I'm seeing here. She does have one for the current period, but if we just look at the 825 to 924 period, just see that there was some overages, whether it was error, but we can take a look at the charges. 825 to 924.
Because like all of
And
her
with this one, you
meals
can
are
always run this,
included in her
any
rent.
time just to see. Let's see. So either she had an overage or someone maybe had multiple charges on her, but it does show that she has some type of overage on her name. Let's take a look. Okay, so they have those 93 meals included based upon the month, whatever the number of days are, so the 3 meals a day. But if we go down a little further, we can just see there are definitely more plans that were rang in. So maybe she went over it, but it does seem like once we hit right here, the meals were rang out. So maybe it was more of an error kind of thing, but I do see that she was over. So that's why we have all those different charges for $800 something.
Yeah, and like I said, all of that is
So
included
with
in her monthly rent, so I don't understand why it shows up.
so was it Patty? You know how one of the other facilities, you know how we had the meal plan number was like 999 for those people, so like they would never reach the amount. Maybe we could do the same thing over here for those, people that are on 3 meal a day. So kind of like we have the number, kind of like a number they would never technically go over because all their meals should be included. Maybe that could be incorporated over here. That way, we would avoid the error as far as having that. So like right here, how we have the 93 only resident meals, maybe we could change that amount. That way, again, if they do by mistake, have more than 3 meals or they do bring in something extra for the day, they don't want them getting billed for it.
Okay, I wasn't any part of this part of the retail tracker setup, so where do I guess I'm not clear what I'm changing this to.
So like one of the other facilities, we have it set to like 999. So like it's a number they will like never reach. So every month they receive all those meals, but it's just for residents only. So if they do wind up having a guest or something, the guest will be billed, but all the resident ones, which technically be included, like you said, if it's under contract, then technically all the resident meals would be included unless they have a guest meal or like alcohol or something like that.
Okay, so I would go into this meal plan declining balance, this section, and change it to 999 on every retail tracker?
Yes, again,
Or,
we can do it now.
yeah,
Yeah, again,
you
we
do
can do
that?
it now if you want, but again, we would just change that just for those 3 meal a day people. So just for them.
Yeah, I would be more comfortable if you would do that. Thank you.
Joyce
Yeah,
is
so
the
we'll
only
change it just for those
resident
people.
that I have coming up like that. So, I mean, I know that creates an issue when I send it over and then I have to go back in and then delete all those meals and then try to make the balances add up.
Yeah, so moving forward, when the plan does recreate again, it will have a 999 balance. So if you do have any for the previous one, again, you would just, kind of do that credit process, but moving forward, her meal plan amount would be different. So there'd be no way that they could possibly bring in that many meals in a month.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand why she's popping up and no one else is. I mean, I know she's lived in different units in the building. She started independent and then, assisted and now memory care, but yeah, everything is included.
When you were
It
looking at
seems
that
more of a
report,
human error.
yeah, so question, when you're looking at that report, it said like 8 units for breakfast. Why would they charge 8? Is it 8 separate items? Is it 8? Why is the units
Right.
more?
So it could have been, like you said, 8 separate items. So if we go here, just take a look at the code here, just show you. So you know how we have resident lunch, resident dinner, they're set like at a cap. So this is their cap for the meal. So if they had like more than this amount, let's say for breakfast, if she had over $20, that's how we have that overage, how they're billed for the overage. That's where this cap really represents. So if they had, 8 items and they totaled more than this amount, that's where that overage comes in place.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it's showing unit amounts it just varies from day to day. Most of the days are 1, but there's a day with 5, a day with 3, a day with 2. She doesn't ask for anything. Everybody in memory care, for the most part, their plate gets, made and set down in front of them, and she's not a huge eater, so I just don't understand where all this is coming from.
So is that how it's being rung
Let's look
in
at
then?
one of her receipts. Yeah, let's look at one of her receipts just to see. So these are her receipts for the last period, and this we just look at this one right here. It's like there were multiple, don't know if it was an error, but there definitely was, multiple ring in on one receipt.
So that's gotta be a human error that somebody's messing up
Yeah,
somewhere?
definitely human error because they're ringing in, all these on this one line on her name.
Okay.
And you see the same thing for lunch and the same thing here as well. Like some are separate, some are not, but it does seem like a lot of them are just ringing in, multiple on one name. And she is one of the first names to show up, so that could be it as well. But she is like the 3rd name that you see on the listing, so it seems like it's a human error in this aspect.
Right. Well, I'm really hoping that very soon we can get our new culinary director trained in on Retail Tracker, and then she can pass on everything she's learned, so we can correct these errors. Because it's just, I mean, there's just so many mistakes, and like I said, then I got to go back into Matrix and make sure that the numbers match, and from everything that I've deleted that shouldn't be on there, and I'm still learning too.
Understandable.
So hopefully we will get this figured out.
Any other questions in particular from anyone? All right, again, And I'm gonna send this over to you. You may have it or you may not, but I will route this over. And this is pretty much gonna go over just all the different reports that are on this side, what each report pertains to and how to get to it. And it's gonna be the same thing for the retail tracker side as well. So you can always reference back to this also. Patty, anything on your end?
I don't have anything specifically. Anyone at the communities that have specific questions? Stephanie, Helen, this is new to you. Doesn't sound like it.
Well, no,
Thank
wait,
you.
I have a question. This is Amber from the Esquiline.
Amber.
Hi, okay, so here's my question. My issue is my new residents are not showing as admitted in Retail Tracker. So I feel like I'm missing a step or something. So can you just quickly describe that process of how to do, like I admit them in Matrix, and then do I need to run a report or do I need to manually enter them in Retail Tracker? Like I have an error there I cannot figure out.
Brian, I think that might be more of like the face sheet kind of thing. Is that correct?
I think sometimes once people do get entered into Matrix, it does take a while for them to come over to Retail Tracker. I know we've had that issue here in Northfield.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question again?
Oh, me? Okay. So
Amber, good-
when I enter them into Matrix, is there something I need to do in Matrix to send them to Retail Tracker, or am I supposed to manually enter them in Retail Tracker? Because the issue is I've been manually entering them in Retail Tracker and they're like never admitted and they're like never transmitted over. So all the tickets that I've had for Retail Tracker has been for that, the resident not being admitted.
Okay, so what triggers the resident to come across the system in this situation is the admission census line. So I guess I just have to ask, are you putting in admission census lines once you're done with the face sheet, or?
Yes, like I put 2 residents in today in census as admission, so move in today.
Okay, because that is the only thing that should be triggering them to come across the system. So you have examples of residents that are not coming through once you enter in a census line. Essentially, what happens is you get that admission census line in, it'll send a message over to Retail Tracker and it'll pull their information across. With it, basically, that is what triggers all of it. So if you're having residents that are not coming across after you enter the census line and it's been past 10 minutes, there's an issue going on there. It's really nothing on your side. There's something going on with the connection there.
Okay, so I entered them this morning probably at 7:30. And so I'm trying to look now to see if.
And what date did you enter in for the census line? Was it real time?
Today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them yet in Retail Tracker.
Okay. Sometimes what I've seen too is that if your Retail Tracker session isn't refreshed, it might not update the residents that you're seeing. So if I'm understanding that part of it correctly, right? Lavelle, they would just have to close out a Retail Tracker and reopen it.
Yeah, they can close out and reopen it as well.
So I would maybe try that quick to see what we see. But
Okay.
if that resident's not showing up, I definitely want you to give me that example and I can hunt down what's going on there. But if you're consistently having issues with these residents, I think there's a larger problem going on, because the longest it should take is 10 minutes for them to pull across.
Can I say something? This is Laura. We were told, or Ken, my housing administrator was told, that if we leave retail tracker open, that it eventually will come over, because we've had that same issue happening for a while as well. So it's like you have to open it up and leave it open, and then eventually they come over. And I think another time I had to call support for something, it wasn't updating. Retail tracker itself was not updating. So I think they have trouble with automatic updates.
Well, it could be an issue of you're taking an action within the system that pulls a new refreshed update. So what I do know is that if you close out and you come back in, it's going to be the most up-to-date information.
Sure. Well, I said one time when I had to call support, it had been a week since retail tracker updated, and they had to do something on their end. It wasn't anything that I could do. So at that time, it wasn't closing it out and going back in it. It just wasn't. It was, like I said, it was something that support had to do. And I'm
Yeah,
not
and
sure
I know
what it
there's
was.
sometimes there's other versions out there, so you may have not been updated to the latest version. That's the only other thing I could think of.
Sure.
Where can we find the previous trainings that you did? Someone said they were recorded, so.
It was sent over previously. I know they have up to 30 days to be downloaded or share file. They do expire them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, so I'm still not seeing them in retail tracker.
Okay. Can you just send me the list of the residents that are having issues and I can have them investigated?
Okay, great. This is Brian.
Yes.
Yes, okay, will do. Thank you.
Okay. And then
And
I'll
just to clarify, Brian, this is Patty. Amber said she's manually entering them into retail tracker. Is that right, Amber? She shouldn't ever have to do that, right?
no, and that's not the way it's
Yeah,
supposed to work.
Right, and I did not enter these two residents manually. So I just enter them in Matrix, because I spoke with someone last week off a ticket that I did, and he said, don't do that. So I stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of different things that could be happening here. There's a lot of different things that can affect it. So really the best place to start is to get a resident example and just try to understand and look at the history of the resident, and then look at the messaging in the back end of the system to see why it's causing it. So it could be something specific to that resident. It could be something specific to all of your residents, which is actually preferable, because we can hopefully cast a net where not all residents are being affected. So the more examples, the better in this scenario. So if you have others,
Okay.
please send them my way.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Other questions out there for me or Lavelle? It does not sound like